Trigonometry for Calculus, a comprehensive review. The purpose of this video is for you to review fundamental concepts of trigonometry that are necessary for all levels of calculus courses. So whether you're in Calculus 1, Calculus 2, or Calculus 3, this video is for you. We're going to start by reviewing concepts from pre-calculus, and later in the video we'll review concepts from Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 for students in those higher level courses. Concepts from pre-calculus. Angles can be measured in either degrees or radians. One full rotation is either 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. To convert degrees to radians, you multiply by pi over 180, using the fact that 1 degree is equal to pi over 180 radians. To convert radians to degrees, you're going to multiply by 180 over pi, using the fact that 1 radian is equal to 180 over pi degrees. In a right triangle, the ratios of the lengths of the sides can be determined from one of the acute angles in that triangle. We typically label the sides hypotenuse, which is the side opposite the right angle. The opposite side is the side that doesn't touch the angle that we're talking about, and the adjacent side is the other side that touches our angle other than the hypotenuse. With these definitions, the sine of our angle is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And we can remember these relationships using the acronym SOHCAHTOA. SOH represents the relationship that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, CAH represents cosine equaling adjacent over hypotenuse, and TOA represents tangent being opposite over adjacent. A result of these definitions is that the tangent of our angle is the sine of our angle divided by the cosine of our angle. Now, there are some nice angles where we can easily figure out what the values of our sine, cosine, and tangent are. Those angles are 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 60 degrees. And together with 0 degrees and 90 degrees, this chart is a good thing to know for when these angles come up in problems that you'll be working on. We can also define three other trigonometric functions. CSC stands for cosecant of theta, which is 1 over the sine of theta. SEC stands for secant of theta, which is 1 over cosine theta. COT stands for cotangent of theta, which is 1 over the tangent of theta. Now, the definitions that we've seen using a right triangle only work for acute angles. To define trigonometric functions more generally, we're going to use the unit circle. That unit circle is a circle of radius 1 centered at the origin. We're going to measure angles on this circle by rotating counterclockwise, starting at our positive x-axis. When we rotate by an angle theta on the unit circle, starting at that positive x-axis and going counterclockwise, that rotation ends at a point x, y on that unit circle. And we can define sine, cosine, and tangent of that angle by sine of theta equaling y, cosine of theta equaling x, and tangent of theta equaling y over x. These definitions match up with the definitions that we've already seen when theta is an acute angle, and that extends our definitions to allow us to define the sine, cosine, and tangent of any angle theta, positive or negative. Now we can graph the sine and cosine functions. We see patterns that look like this. Some things to note about these functions are that the domain of sine and cosine is the entire real number line, minus infinity to infinity. That tells us that the sine and cosine of any real number is defined. The range of our sine and cosine functions is -1 to 1, so the value of a sine or a cosine of an angle is always between -1 and 1. And these functions are periodic with period 2 pi. That means that if you add or subtract 2 pi from any angle, the sine and the cosine remain the same. Similarly, we can graph the other 4 trigonometric functions, tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant, and we could talk about domains and asymptotes and things like that here, but we'll just suffice to take a look at the graphs here and notice some patterns and notice some similarities between them. Something else that's good to know about our trigonometric functions is identities. If x, y is a point on the unit circle corresponding to an angle theta, then x squared plus y squared equals 1, and that means that sine of theta squared plus cosine of theta squared is going to equal 1. And typically when we have powers of trig functions, we'll write the exponent on the function itself. So we'll write that as sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. But these two equations say the same thing. We can also take this Pythagorean identity and divide both sides either by cosine squared of theta or sine squared of theta and simplifying to get two more Pythagorean identities. Tan squared of theta plus 1 equals secant squared of theta, and 1 plus cotan squared of theta equals cosecant squared of theta. We have some other miscellaneous identities here. We've got some double angle identities and half angle identities, and these are occasionally useful, as you'll see in your calculus course. Now, something else that we want to do with our trig functions is find inverses. But if we look at, for example, the sine function, that function is not invertible because it doesn't pass the horizontal line test. However, we can fix this problem by restricting the domain of the sine function to be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. That function does pass the horizontal line test, and we can construct its inverse, which we call inverse sine or arcsine. So we write that as y equals sine to the minus 1 of x. Now this notation is a little bit funky because what we don't mean here is 1 over the sine of x. We have a name for that, that's cosecant. So what we mean is the inverse function of the sine function. And when we write y equals inverse sine of x, this means that y is the angle between minus pi over 2 and pi over 2, whose sine is x. Now we can do something similar for the inverse tangent function. We can restrict the domain of our tangent function, again between minus pi over 2 and pi over 2. That makes the function invertible, and that lets us construct inverse tan of x, or arctan of x. And when we say y equals the inverse tan of x, that means that y is the angle between minus pi over 2 and pi over 2, whose tangent is x. One notable feature of the inverse tangent function is that it has horizontal asymptotes y equals pi over 2 and y equals minus pi over 2. Now, it is possible to restrict the domains of the other 4 trigonometric functions and define their inverses, but typically we'll restrict our attention to just inverse sine and inverse tangent because those are the ones that typically come up in calculus courses. Concepts from Calculus 1. If you're taking Calculus 1, you can stop the video here, but if you're in Calculus 2 or Calculus 3, keep watching. One important limit that we learn about in Calculus 1 is that the limit as h goes to 0 of sine of h over h is equal to 1. Now this fact requires the angle h to be measured in radians, and this is why we're always going to be using radians in calculus. We can use that fact, together with some other trigonometric identities, to find formulas for the derivative of sine of x and the derivative of cosine of x. The derivative of sine of x is cosine of x, and the derivative of cosine of x is minus sine of x. And from these two derivatives, using the quotient rule, we can find the derivatives of all 6 of our trigonometric functions. We can also use implicit differentiation to find derivatives of inverse sine and inverse tangent. Notice here that the derivatives of inverse sine and inverse tangent don't have any trig functions in them, and that will be a useful fact that we'll talk about in Calculus 2. We also have antiderivative formulas that are the opposites of our derivative formulas from earlier. And we can use a variety of techniques, including substitution, to find antiderivatives of tangent of x and secant of x. Concepts from Calculus 2. If you're in Calculus 2, you can stop watching here, but if you're in Calculus 3, keep watching. One of the things that we talked about in Calculus 2 was how to deal with integrals involving powers of sine times powers of cosine. And what we're looking for is an odd power. If the power on the sine is odd, then we want to substitute u equals cosine x and use identities to rewrite our remaining powers of sine in terms of cosine. If m is odd, that is, if the power on the cosine is odd, we're going to substitute u equals the sine of x and use our identity and rewrite any remaining powers of cosine in terms of sine. If both powers are odd, then we can choose whichever way we want to do it, but if both powers are even, then we have to use half-angle identities. We have similar techniques for when we have a power of tangent times a power of secant. Things are a little bit more complicated here, but you can follow the steps that you see here to evaluate that integral. We also have trigonometric substitution that we talked about in Calc 2. If we have integrals involving the square root of a squared minus x squared, we're going to substitute x equals a sine theta. That will give us an integral involving sines and cosines, which we can evaluate using the techniques that we talked about earlier. And in order to rewrite our final answer in terms of x, we may need to draw a triangle or use the identity that sine of 2 theta equals 2 sine theta cosine theta. If we have integrals involving a squared plus x squared, then we're going to substitute x equals a tangent theta. That will give us an integral involving tangents and secants, and we'll evaluate that using the techniques that we talked about earlier. And then finally, again, if we want to rewrite our answer in terms of x, we may need to draw a triangle. All right, I went through all of that stuff pretty quickly, but hopefully this video is a good reference for you to use as you proceed through your calculus course or calculus courses. So feel free to rewatch, bookmark different parts of the video, and try to help yourself remember all the different techniques and formulas and identities that we talked about in this video. I hope this was helpful. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.